Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and much appreciated you guys swinging by the channel to watch today's video and hang out with me for a little bit. And guys, today we are going to pose the question, would the sport of bass fishing be better off without tournaments? If there were no tournaments in bass fishing, I want to examine the possible reality of having no tournaments, and then we'll talk a little bit about the impact of tournaments and moving forward what this looks like, because we are in a situation where everything is rapidly changing and rapidly evolving in our sport. And we have a tremendous amount of challenges on our waters and fisheries. I talk about this a lot, needs to be talked about. But one of the reasons I wanted to do this video is that the viewers I have on my channel, it's like I have got some tournament anglers out there, but the majority of people that watch my channel, from all indications, from what I can tell, they are not tournament anglers. They don't fish tournaments. They don't like tournaments. And I sort of want to address the reality of this about how tournaments, they play the role they have is outsized given the amount of support that they have amongst the general bass fishing population. But really, I just want to talk about, talking about if we'd be better off without tournaments at all. So we're going to get into that in today's video, and definitely want to get a dialogue going on this, guys. Let me know, shoot me some comments here. Let's get the comment section fired up after the video, and we'll sort of get a good vibe on what people think about this. Also, guys, before we get started, just want to extend a big thank you out there. Guys, thank you very much for everybody that's taken time to subscribe here at Intuitive Angling. If you haven't had a chance to do that, I'd like to invite you to do so. We only got like 35% of the people that watch the videos now are actually subscribed, so that's a good way to help out. And also, guys, if you're one of the supporters of the channel that use and bookmark all the links I put in my video descriptions, especially like my Tackle Warehouse link, thank you very much from me and my family. We really appreciate that. And that's really the reason that these YouTube videos are on. So I know you guys get burned out on hearing that, but I never want you guys to underestimate how much we appreciate you guys using those links. Okay, one of the things about this is like being in the sport as long as I have, for 50 years, I've seen the evolution of the sport, from the 70s up as it is to right now, and the impact of tournaments. And don't get me wrong, guys, I love tournament fishing. I mean, I love it. There's an aspect about tournament fishing that it offers a higher intensity than regular bass fishing, because tournament bass fishing, it pushes yourself to get better. And some people, like that, and some people don't. Some people are disgusted by tournament fishermen and tournament anglers, and I get it, because I have some of those feelings myself. There's a lot that goes on about tournament bass fishing that I wish we didn't even have tournaments. But that being said, tournament fishing has provided me an avenue to experience things in fishing that have been extremely rewarding, extremely frustrating, and I'm really torn between the two. I mean, if it sounds like I'm back and forth, I am, because half of me wishes there was no tournaments at all, and half of me loves tournaments. So I want to get into that type of discussion a little bit, but mainly I want to talk about from a standpoint of our fisheries, would be better off without tournaments. Now, this today in 2025, guys, this is more of a topic than it's ever been, because we have so many tournaments. Now, when I first started fishing tournaments back in the late 70s, when I was in high school, and I started fishing buddy tournaments, and I fished some of the old Redman tournaments, there wasn't very many tournaments. I mean, I would go down to Table Rock or Grand Lake, and there'd be maybe like one buddy bass tournament on the weekend, and then maybe there'd be one Redman tournament once a month. But there simply was not that many tournaments, and certainly not to the extent that they are now as the number of people that fishes them and number of tournaments. Because let's say, for example, let's go back in time to 1980. If I would go down to Table Rock Lake, from about April until June, there'd be, like I said, like one buddy tournament for the whole weekend, 100 boat buddy tournament. And then, like I said, maybe once a month they'd have a Redman tournament down there, and maybe like a local circuit, but that's about it. You hardly never saw people bass fish in tournaments down there. Now, if you go down there, there can be 10 tournaments going out of the lake on any given day on a weekend down there. Big tournaments. I talked about this in a couple of videos before. I fished a tournament down there last April, and there were over 1,000 tournament boats on the lake that one day. There was like 5 major tournaments. Just absolutely insanity that they allowed that many tournaments there. So I don't think it's a stretch, and I don't think I don't see how anybody could possibly in a million years disagree that the impact of tournament fishing does not have a negative impact on our lake, because it does. Tournament fishing has a negative impact on our lake simply because of the amount of fishing pressure that the fish experience and the delayed mortality from tournaments. We kill a tremendous amount of bass in bass tournaments. I have seen them. I've seen every indication of that, guys. I've seen huge coolers full of dead bass, certain times of the year. I've been to tournaments like at Grand Lake, where I fished a tournament there on Saturday, and I came back 4 or 5 days later back to the same area where the weigh-in was, and there'd be floating bass dead everywhere. Bass tournaments kill fish. So everybody knows that. Some people are more vocal about it than others. Tournament anglers sort of sweep it under the rug, and they don't like to talk about it. But most people are outraged with it, and I'm outraged with it. So, yeah, we would have better fishing by far if we didn't have bass tournaments. Number one, the bass would be easier to catch because they wouldn't have as much fishing pressure. Tournaments put a tremendous amount of high-level skilled anglers on the water that pressure these bass to become more finicky and more wary and harder to catch. Bass in 2025 are harder to catch than they've ever been before, but there's an illusion that the fishing is okay because we have advanced so much in all different type of technology: our boat technology, our rod and reel technology, our lure technology, electronic technology, mapping technology, our understanding of the fish. Everything has been accentuated 1,000,000 times from it was back in 1980. So I always say, one of the things that I always bring up is like, you cannot try to identify the quality of a fishery based upon what we have in 2025. The only accurate way that you could measure the quality of a fishery is to go back like to the 1980 techniques. In other words, let's say if you went down to Table Rock Lake or Lake Gunnersville or wherever you live at, and you put your boat in today, and you've got, the cheater box on there, you got mapping systems, you got, high-tech trolling motors, you got power poles, you've got high-tech baits, you've got, $1,000 bait casting combinations, you've got, every technological advancement known to man to figure these fish out. And sometimes, more than not, you still struggle to catch fish. Now, let's say that we went fishing, you and I went fishing this weekend at Table Rock or Lake Gunnersville, whatever. And the only thing that we were allowed to have in the boat was the same things that were available in 1980. You got a 12-volt trolling motor, you had a flasher. Most guys back then didn't even have 2 flashers. They had like one on the console or something. And that's all you had with your boat. And then you had a 6.5-foot pistol grip rod that has some type of medium action composite. You got a 5-to-1 bait cast reel. All you have monofilament line. Your lures are relegated to like a jig and pork frog, a vinyl skirted spinner bait, some rudimentary crankbait like a hellbender or bomber crankbait, and maybe, some type of a chugger or prop bait topwater, and that's all you have. You go out in the 1980 equipment, you put your boat in the water, circa 1980 tackle and equipment, I guarantee, guys, you're going to struggle your butt off to even get a bite, period. If you went down here right now, let's say that we go fishing at Table Rock Lake tomorrow, and I give you a vinyl skirted spinnerbait, a black jig and a black bucktail jig and a black pork frog with it, a white hellbender, or a bomber, a lazy Ike, and a something like a Gilmore jumper prop bait. If we catch one bass all day long, I'd be freaking shocked. So, but back then you caught them. It's like those same type of stuff that I just talked about. You'd go down to Table Rock Lake and you'd catch a big bag of fish almost every time you went. That is what I'm talking about, is we have a fraction of the fish now. They're highly educated, they're highly pressured, and this is a direct result of tournament bass angling. Recreational bass anglers would not put that much pressure on a fishery as tournament anglers do. Another problem we've had with tournament angling, and this has really been exasperated here recently, is all the major events, all the marquee events like the Bassmaster Classic and the Forestwood Cups and that type of stuff, when they come to a lake, it's a death blow for the lake. I heard that, you know, Red Crest is coming to Table Rock next year. There's a rumor the Bassmaster Classic's going to come to Table Rock. Table Rock's already sucks. If you put those two events on the lake, it's really going to hammer the lake and destroy it. It's like these big marquee events. Every single lake that has had a marquee event on it like that over the years, it deteriorates down and the fishing sucks as a result afterward, because again, it's just a matter of the fishing pressure. So my analysis of the thing is, even though I like fishing tournaments and I like the tournament culture and all that type of stuff, it's terrible for the sport, and we're going to have to do something with it. Now, are tournaments going to go away? Probably not. They're not going to go away. But one of the things that we have to do, and this is one of the things I've been talking about a lot lately, is we have got to have some type of governing agency in the United States for bass fishing tournaments, just from nothing else but from a sustainability level of our fisheries and protecting of our fisheries. The only way that we're going to have some type of a governing body over this is you're going to have the conservation departments and the wildlife officials start lobbying some of the state, you know, lawmakers and say, look, we have got to have, or, you know, even on a federal level, we have got to have, and we have got to create some type of regulatory body to responsibly, you know, handle this whole tournament problem we have right now. Because right now it's just a free-for-all. You know, the lake managers and I haven't seen any evidence of the lake managers or the water patrol or anybody putting limitations on tournaments, even from a safety perspective. But in an ideal situation, we would have a board of people, some type of a board that's appointed, people that are highly qualified, not some good old boy, you know, nepotism type board, but some type of a highly qualified board that is in place on every single lake, and they can do some type of analysis on the impact of the fisheries and the tournament and the relationship to tournaments. So here's what I would do. Let's say in a perfect world, I use Table Rock a lot because that's just right down the road from my house, and I fish there a lot, and it's a famous fishery. Let's say, for example, I was on the board of this advisory, not advisory board, but a policy board as far as how many tournaments can be held on Table Rock Lake. This is what I would do. I would say, okay, we are going to allow one tournament, you know, per weekend on the lake, or even, you know, tournaments aren't going to be during the week unless they're like some type of a circuit type deal. But let's say, for example, on a Saturday and Sunday, we're going to allow one tournament per day, and the maximum amount of boats in that tournament is going to be 150 boats. So that's on any given day, you're only going to allow 150 tournament boats on Table Rock Lake. That's going to be the limit. Now, there's 365 days in the year. If you're a tournament circuit or whatever, you got 365 days of the year to schedule your tournament. And in order to schedule a tournament on there, you're going to have to come in front of the board, and you're going to have to prove as a tournament organization that you can safely put on a tournament. What's your weigh-in procedure? What type of catch and release policies do you have instituted? You got to prove that you're responsible for enough to have a tournament. And then over the course of time, the reduction in the amount of fishing pressure is not only going to take that pressure off of the fish are probably going to become easier to catch. There's probably going to be more fish since we're not having a delayed mortality, and it creates a situation of long-term sustainability for the sport. But again, I don't ever see that happening, simply because, number one, apathy. Number two, you got too much money in the sport. So some of the most obvious things that we can do in bass fishing to protect our fisheries, we're not doing it at this point. One of the things that can be done, it's like if we refuse to do the right thing, and we're going to continue down the road we are about letting technology destroy our sport and letting every Joe, Jim Bob, Fred Bob have a tournament on the lake, or let people create tournament circuits right and left, we have got to change the weigh-in procedure, and the weigh-ins, the traditional bass fishing weigh-ins, have got to stop. They have got to stop completely, and we have got to go to some type of an immediate catch and release program in the boat. Now, you guys hear me dogging MLF a lot, but the best thing that they've ever done on the Bass Pro Tour is have that catch and you weigh your fish and turn it back in the water immediately, and you're penalized if the fish hits the carpet. That's the way it should be, guys. It's like, if that fish hits the carpet, there should be some type of a penalty. If you're one of those guys that swings a 5-pounder over the side of the boat and lets it flop on the floor of the boat while you're doing fist pumps and acting like a freaking nut job, you should probably be disqualified from the day of the tournament. We got to be more responsible as tournament anglers. So if we have that instant catch and release in the boat, that's going to do that's going to make a massive impact on the amount of fish that are not killed in a lake. I don't know why they don't do that. It's like nobody watches weigh-ins anyway. I mean, all the live coverage they have at tournaments, I mean, everybody knows what everybody's caught. So it's not like it was back in 1985 with it. So anyway, guys, man, it's just another one of those things. The sport's changing. It's changing rapidly. I've been in it a long time, and I can tell you the changes are not for the better. It's like, when I reflect, and if I do it with an open mind, and I do it if I try to look at it from a third party perspective, and I take my own biases and emotions out of it, and I just look at it, black and white for the way it is, the sport of bass fishing has been degraded unbelievable from what it was. I mean, and the only way that you really know that is if you've been there and done that. And I understand that if you're somebody that's 25 or 30 years old, you've never been there and done that. You don't know what it was like before. You don't know what it felt like before and how the fisheries were before. The only thing that you have to equate it to is the last 5 or 10 years on the water, and it's not even close to being the same on any metric that you have. So it's a lot of people like myself that you hear a lot of people like myself that some people label as whiners and complainers. That's because we know better. We know what we had before, and a lot of people that haven't just can't relate to that. But all I'm saying, guys, is we got to be better stewards, man, of our lakes. We have got so many problems that are being swept under the carpet. People don't want to talk about them. It's what's here for here and now. And a lot of people have a vested financial interest in keeping the status quo. We have a lot of challenges and negative influences in the sport of bass fishing right now. And it's only going to change if you have some people emerge that have some level of power, especially legislative power, that can make those changes for the better of everything. A lot of people may not like it, but as far as if you're talking about ensuring the sustainability and quality of bass fishing for future generations, sometimes you got to make the hard decisions. And those hard decisions are having a reduction in tournaments. It's having a reduction in technology. It's not allowing, these weigh-ins to go unchecked and have all these fish die from, barotrauma issues from the cheater box and delayed mortality. It takes away some people's rights, to do what they want to do with the resource. And sometimes you got to do the right thing, man. It's just like, it's not about you. It's not about yourself and what's in it for you. We got to leave something behind, man. We got to leave something for the next generation. And one of the things, I'll tell you what, guys, something right now, you guys hear me talk a lot about the Native Americans here. And every time I do, guys, it's like a lot of people dog me on that. But the Native Americans were freaking geniuses. They're not given enough credit. It's disgusting what the white man did to them back in the 1800s here. But one of the things that they did, especially some of the Lipan Apache tribes, some tribes more than others, is they had a philosophy when they were getting ready to do something. It doesn't matter what it is. Say they had a decision to make about the way that they were leading their lives or whatever. One of the first things that they would do is they would sit down, in a council or whatever of elders, and they would say, okay, if we do this, man, if we take this action, how is it going to affect the tribe 30 years from now if we do this? What's going to be the result of that? And the decision was only made to go forward if they felt that it didn't have a negative impact on the future of the tribe. We don't do that anymore. We have evolved into a society it's what's for me, what's here and now. damn the data, damn science, damn, anything else. I don't want anyone telling me what I can't do. If I want to keep and catch a limit of 15-pound bass every day and fillet them out, nobody's going to tell me what I can do. I'm going to go ahead and do it. So that's sort of the mentality that we have right now within our fishing. A lot of times is people confuse their perceived rights as being greater as the overall good as far as the future of our sport and the sustainability of our sport. So anyway, just sort of got off on a little bit of a tangent there. In other words, guys, sort of a recap of it. I am like torn on this, like I said, because I love fishing tournaments, and then again, I hate fishing tournaments, and I wish they weren't there, but they've been great. And we just have to have some type of tighter regulation on them. That's all there is to it. We have way too many tournaments, way too many tournament fishermen, and whether something changes or not, you never know, man. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about it, and we'll check in later.